Awesome sauce. And then let's go ahead and start on our backs. And I want you to make sure that when you're on your backs, if you get onto your backs, you have one of your blocks easily accessible. And you're just going to lie down on your back and spread out either as a starfish or keep your knees bent. You're just coming onto the floor in whatever way feels best to you. And the first thing I'd like you to do is just wiggle around and fidget around until it feels like you can come to a place that feels really comfortable and really stable for you. And after you've taken a little bit of time to fidget around, you'll then find yourself in stillness in whatever shape you happen to be in. And I want you to just take 3 big audible breaths. A big breath in through the nose and a big sigh out of your mouth. Two more. And last one. Awesome. And then as you continue to just settle into the floor, start to notice where in the body you can allow things to become a bit softer, where you can allow a little bit more tension to just dissipate from the body. And we'll start to bring our awareness to our throat and constrict and tone the back of our throat. So today we're going to work on this idea of balancing needs. And so we're going to work on a few different poses that require a little bit of balance. And as we're coming into our first shape, I'd like you to find a balance between your inhalation and your exhalation, seeing if you can find that constriction so that it's even throughout the inhalation and even throughout the exhalation. And then find a sense of equanimity between your in-breath and your out-breath so that they are both about the same. And then just observe how that sense of homeostasis almost allows the body to both energize as well as stay calm and relaxed. And we'll just take 2 more breath cycles just like that, starting to awaken the body just very gently from the inside out. Great. At the end of this exhalation, you'll extend the legs long if they're not and slide the feet, inner thighs, inner legs towards each other. And then you'll bring your hands alongside your hips. Go ahead and make sure you flex through both feet and hug the inner thighs towards the floor so your knees point up. And then inhale, reach your right arm up and over your head, flex through your left foot even more. And then exhale, lower the hand back down and point through that left foot. We'll try the other side. So inhale, lift your left arm, flex through the right foot, even more fine length. And exhale, lower the left arm, point through the right foot. Inhale, both arms, both feet, flexing through the feet, reaching through the arms. And exhale, pointing through the feet, reaching down with the hands. We'll do that one more time. So inhale, right arm, left foot, finding length across the back of the body. And then exhale, pointing through that foot, lowering the right arm down. And then when you're ready, inhale, left arm, right foot, flexing, finding length across the back of the body. And exhale, point and lower the hand. And then both arms, inhale, both feet flex. And then exhale, lower both hands alongside the hips, point through the feet. Okay, this time you'll take both arms up and overhead once again. So inhale, flex through both feet. Reach up through both arms, and you'll stay here for about 3 breath cycles. So you might lift those ribs a little bit more up and away from the hips. You might inchworm out through one hand more than the other. You might notice what it feels like to really reach out through the backs of the heels, reaching out through the balls of the feet, and just finding a little bit more space and breath in the upper torso. And then on your next exhale, gently lower the hands back alongside the hips. Take a moment to pause and to breathe. So to come into balance, we have to take a moment to come into balance. So gently bend both knees. Go ahead and draw your knees into your chest and hold your right shin with your right hand, your left shin with your left hand, and just pull the knees in. Keep the hands right as they are, right below the kneecaps, and then you'll inhale both legs away from you until your arms straighten, toes might reach towards the floor. And then exhale, just pull your right knee towards your chest, look towards the left, push out through your left shin. Inhale, both knees come back to that center position, head comes back to center. And then exhale, hug the left knee and push out through the right, look to the right. Inhale, come back to that center position, both arms straight. And then exhale, hugging the right knee in, pushing out through the left, looking to the left. Inhale, both knees come back to center, arms straight. And then exhale, left knee into chest, look to the right, right knee presses forward even more. And you've got one more set just like this on your own. And you're just noticing that as you push that opposite knee away and look towards that same knee, get a nice stretch across the neck. And then you're just following your breath, inhaling back to center and exhaling to the other side, pressing out through right shin, pulling left knee in. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and inhale and come back to center. And then exhale, just hug both knees into your chest, imprinting the low back into the floor. Inhale, straighten the arms, draw the thighs away from the chest, toes towards the floor. And exhale, hug the knees back in. And you just got 3 more of these, keeping hands on the shins the whole time, just to open up that low back, creating almost this gentle rocking motion as you compress the knees into the chest. And you're just exploring and experiencing what the breath is feeling like here and now. Awesome sauce. The next time the knees come into the chest, go ahead and pause. Flex through both of your feet. Hug your knees, ankles, and shins towards each other, and then go ahead and open both arms out to the right and to the left. Take a big breath in here. As you exhale, hug the knees, ankles, and shins together. And then inhale, lower your legs towards your right. And exhale, hug the knees back up to center. We're just going to take 4 of these. So inhaling to the right. And exhaling, squeezing the legs back to center. Inhaling once again to the right. Exhaling back to center. And this last time we're going to hold. So inhaling to the right. And you can choose to hover here with the legs off the floor, pressing the bottom knee into the top knee. You can allow the legs to descend onto the floor, but you're just taking 3 steady breath cycles here, noticing what it feels like to try to root that left shoulder into the floor, noticing what it feels like to find spaciousness on the left side, and maybe some engagement on the right. Take a big, big breath in here. And on your next exhalation, you'll hug the knees back up to center. Take a moment to pause, maybe root the feet on the floor and just observe what the difference is. And then we'll go ahead and try that on the other side. So take a big breath in. As you exhale, hug the knees into your chest, flex through the feet. Inhale here. Exhale, squeeze the legs together. And then inhale the legs over to the left. And exhale, come back up. And you've got 3 sets of these. And as you go over to the left, you're continuing to push the bottom leg, that's the left leg, into the right leg. That's the top leg. And you're just noticing how you're maybe rocking on the outside edge of that left hip. Might feel good, might feel a little bit of sensation. You're just noticing what you notice. And then this next time the legs happen to fall over to your left, you'll stay there. Maybe you hug or hover both legs off the floor, pressing the bottom knee into the top knee, bottom shin into top leg. Maybe the legs are on the floor, but you're just taking 3 steady breath cycles here, noticing what it feels like to root that right shoulder blade down, to rotate through the left ribs up and over to the right. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. And then on your next inhalation, you'll take a big breath in and you'll exhale, squeeze the legs back towards center. Go ahead and release the feet to the floor and pause. Grab one of your blocks and slide it between your upper inner thighs in whatever setting works for you. And then make sure your feet are about hip distance apart. Inner and outer edges of your feet are pretty parallel-ish and hands are alongside your hips. And so we're going to return to that arm variation we started with. So you'll inhale, push through the feet, lift your right arm up and over your head. And then exhale, lower the hips, lower that right hand. Awesome sauce. And we'll try that on the left side. Inhale, push through the feet, lift the hips, lift the left arm. And exhale, lower the hips and lower the hand. Inhale, push through the feet, lift both arms up and overhead. And exhale, lower the hands and lower the hips. And you've got that one more set each side. So inhale, right arm, both hips lift. Exhale, right arm lowers, both hips lower. Inhale, left arm, both hips. And exhale, both hips, left arm. And then both hands, both hips. Following your inhalation and exhale, lower all the way back down. Take a moment to pause here. I want you to walk your shoulder blades underneath you. Maybe make little fists with your hands and push down through the backs of your arms, push down through your feet, push down through your head, lift your hips high. Once your hips are high, you might walk those shoulder blades closer towards each other. You might then interlace your hands or just push your little fists into the floor. And then you're going to hug into that block. Yep. Lift the outer hips up a little bit higher. And you've got 3 breath cycles here. So we started with dynamic breath. We're really working on that. And see if you can keep the fluidity of your breath even as you're here. So how can the breath stay balanced? How can it remain stable? Sometimes it requires a bit of negotiation, but sometimes it just requires a bit of softening, a bit of yielding. So you've got one more breath cycle here, and you'll just notice what you notice. And at the end of your exhalation, you'll release your hands, you'll untuck your shoulders, and you'll bring your pelvis back down to the floor and pause. Once the pelvis comes down towards the floor, you'll just take 2 breath cycles before you do any little pelvic nutation. So that's just a simple rocking back and forth of the pelvis. So it feels like your low back arches away from the floor and then it imprints into the floor. So it's more of like a cat-cow happening in your pelvis versus a side to side. Yep. And you're just noticing what that feels like as you just find this gentle movement. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and come to a still neutral spot here. Bring your hands to the back of your head. We're going to change our breathing pattern once again. So interlacing your hands at the back of your head. Take a big breath in here. Hold the breath and push your low back into the floor. As you exhale, lightly squeeze your block. The end of the exhalation, lift your tailbone up. And then inhale, release. Hold the breath, press the low back into the floor. This time as you exhale, curl your elbows up towards the sky. Squeeze the block, lift your tail, inhale. As you exhale, lift the shoulders, lift the elbows towards your knees. Squeeze your block, lift your tail. Inhale, lower your shoulders back down. Hold the breath, push the low back into the floor. Exhale, elbows curl up towards your shins to your knees. Squeeze the block, hold the breath out, lift your tail. Inhale, lower your head back down, hold the breath, push the low back into the floor. Exhale, curl your elbows towards your thighs, squeeze the block, lift the tail. Inhale, lower your head back down. We've got 2 more. Hold the breath, push the low back into the floor. Exhale, curl the elbows up. Hold the breath out, squeeze your block, lift your tail. Last one, inhale, lower your head back down. Push the low back into the floor. Exhale, curl your elbows up towards your thighs. Hold the breath out, squeeze your block, lift your tail. Inhale, lower your head back down. Listen closely. Exhale, lift your shins parallel to the floor. Floint through your feet, Barbie, flexing and pointing. Take a big breath in here. Push your low back into the floor as you hold the breath in. Exhale, curl your elbows up towards your thighs. Hold the breath out, squeeze the block, lift your tail. Inhale, lower your head back down. Hold the breath, push your low back into the floor. Exhale, curl the elbows towards your thighs. Hold the breath out, squeeze your block, lift your tail. Inhale, lower your head back down. Hold the breath, push the low back into the floor. Exhale, curl the elbows towards your thighs, squeeze the block, lift your tail. Last 2 sets. Inhale, head lowers back down. Hold the breath, push the low back into the floor. Exhale, curl the elbows towards your thighs. Squeeze your block, lift your tail. Last set. Inhale, lower the head back down. Hold the breath, push the low back into the floor. Exhale, curl the elbows towards your thighs. Hold the breath, squeeze the block, lift the tail, and very gently inhale, lower all the way back down. Go ahead and remove the block and just take a moment to pause and to breathe. Notice what you notice. How is the core doing? How is the pelvic floor doing? And then you might hug the knees into your chest, slip your hands through the inside edges of your thighs, grab the outer edges of your feet, and either press the feet towards each other or lift the feet up. But we're trying to find an inner thigh stretch for you. And you'll just take 3 to 5 breaths here, either in Happy Baby or Supta Baddha Konasana, just pausing and breathing and noticing what you notice. Awesome. Soft. And then gently, you'll close your knees back together and start to rock and roll forward and back, up and down your spine until you draw yourself up to a seated position. Once you get up, let's go ahead and bring both of our blocks towards the top outer corners of our space. And you might lightly bring your blanket, if you have one, need one, in the middle of your space. We're going to take a mini baby toe squat. So you're just going to tuck both sets of toes under, push your bum back towards your heels and let your arms be forward. And so I got a request for some wrist stuff. So as we're here, I want you to walk your hands forward enough that most of your weight is on your butt, and you're just going to lift the heels of your hands up and away from the floor and lower the heels of your hands back down. And we're just going to do this 10 times. So maybe inhale and lift, keep the fingertips pushing down, and exhale and lower. And inhale and lift, and exhale and lower. So it's almost like you're taking what in ballet we would call little relevés. You're lifting the heels of your hands away from the floor, but the fingers are staying on the floor. You'll notice that your pinky finger and your thumb may need to slide in as you lift up, and then they may need to slide out as you go back down. But we're just seeing how that works here. And we'll just say this is our last one. And at the end of this exhalation, you'll shift your weight forward, tops of the feet to the floor, pitter patter your toes if you need to. Little happy temper tantrum. Okay. And then go ahead and grab your strap, and we're going to take toe squat proper now, but make sure you have your strap with you. Great. So if you need to adjust your pelvis because toe squat does not feel so good to you, or if you need to adjust your feet at any point in time, by all means, go ahead and do that. But we're going to sit in toe squat and make sure our pinky toes haven't escaped. And you're going to unroll your strap all the way and open up your strap so it's wider than your shoulders. And the wider you go, the easier this will be. The more narrow you are, the harder this will be. So you mitigate that for you. But we're just going to take 4 little shoulders flossing. So inhale, arms up, and exhale, they swim behind you. And inhale, they come back up. And exhale, they come in front of you. We've got 3 more of those. Inhale, arms come up, pulling wide on the strap. Exhale, they come down and back behind you. Inhale, they come up. And exhale in front of you. And as you're taking these last 2 sets, you're following your breath and you're noticing if both shoulders move at the same rate or if it feels like one is going first and the other one is following along. So as best as we can, ideally, we want to see if we can have both arms working at the same rate. So this is our last set. Awesome sauce. And before we go into that next thing, if you need to come out of toe squat, gently do that. Otherwise, you'll stay right here. And we're going to reach both arms up and overhead, and we're going to stay here for 10 seconds. So I want you to pull as wide as you can on your strap. Arms are just about wider than your shoulders. And as you pull wide, draw the shoulder blades down into their sockets, lift up through your sternum, lift up through your heart, and you're really imagining that you could tear the strap apart. Great. Now we're going to go ahead and bend our elbows about 1/3 of the way. And again, you're still like the Hulk or Hulk-esque. You're pulling that strap apart. You're drawing the elbows down. You're feeling the shoulder blades slide on the back, the sternum and the heart lift. Awesome sauce. And very last one, you're going to bend the elbows. They're drawing down towards your waist. The shoulder blades are on the back. I'm physically shaking here as I'm doing this because I'm pulling so much through the right and the left hand evenly. And then gently, you'll slowly straighten both arms. Lower the strap in front of you. Bring the strap behind you, but make sure your palms are facing behind you. So now again, I'm still in toe squat. If you need to shift out of this, by all means, please shift out of this. And then you're going to separate your what's it called? Your hands so that there's enough space that you can see your hands behind your butt. And then you're going to lift your strap back behind you as much as you can. I want you to pull that strap like the Hulk on the Hulk-esque. Notice that draws the shoulder blades onto the back and you can lift the sternum. And we're going to stay here for 3. Pull wide for 2. Shoulders squeeze together for 1. Awesome sauce. Keep breathing. I wasn't counting right. Here are our last 3 seconds. Last 2 seconds. Keep pulling apart. Last 1 second. Awesome sauce. Gently release that. Come forward, hands and knees. Little pitter patters for your toes if you were in toe squat that whole time. Everyone take a counter stretch if you'd like. And we're just going to see how that feels. So we're slowly working on building balance. And I think in order to create balance, we have to know what our needs are and the best way to meet them. In NVC land, there are a bunch of different strategies that we can use to meeting our needs. So let's step back. NVC is nonviolent communication. It's by Marshall Rosenberg. And there's this general idea that every single one of us has the same human needs, and we just all take different strategies to meet those needs. And a lot of conflict sort of comes up when our different strategies are in conflict with each other. So if we can figure out different ways to meet our needs, it helps create balance so everyone feels a little bit more harmonious and heard. All right, so let's go ahead and come forward and we're going to add on. So the first thing that I'd like you to do is come and tuck both sets of toes under so they're in that mini toe squat prep position, hands and knees. And then you're going to walk both feet over towards your right. From here, slide just your left foot back and spin the whole left foot to the floor like you're taking a warrior 2 when it's that back foot down. Then take your right hand slightly to the right and forward, and then you'll start to push into your right hand, push into your right knee, and roll towards your left. Now, what I want us to do today is I really want you to look down and make sure you can see your left knee. Make sure your right shoulder is directly over your right wrist, and we're going to bring our left hand to our left hip for today. I want you to Michael Jackson pelvic thrust your hips forward. So your pelvis is coming forward towards the left side of your space. And then from here, extend long through your left arm. So your left arm is now reaching back towards your left foot. You can stay there or sweep your left arm along the horizon until it comes over your ears. You can stay there or bend your top elbow, that's your left elbow, to make your arm even heavier. But we're looking for a stretch that goes across the front of your hip on the side of your left hip. And you're just going to pause and breathe and see what you need to do in order to find that. So some of you will shift your pelvis a little bit more forward and to the left. Some of you will lengthen your tailbone down towards your left inner foot even more, but you're just trying to find a stretch. And then notice that if you bend that elbow, surprisingly, it just adds more weight and makes it heavier. So you find even more stretch. It's strange, but it does that. And then when you're gently ready, you'll come back to hands and knees, and we'll go ahead and try that on the other side. So again, we'll switch sides. So tuck both sets of toes under, walk your toes over towards your left, send your right foot back, spin the whole foot down, and then walk your left hand forward and left just a little bit. So it's now underneath your shoulder. Then from there, right hand comes to right hip. Slide your whole pelvis forward like you're doing that Elvis pelvis thing. It's a whole Michael Jackson pelvis forward. Then from there, sweep that right arm forward and alongside your ears. And maybe the arm stays long and straight, palm faces down. Maybe you bend the elbow. Yep. And just let the arm hang, but your pelvis is coming forward and you're looking for a nice stretch all along that right hip, right low back region. And then you're just going to see if you're breathing and notice how that's going. Awesome sauce. One more breath cycle here. Draw the left shoulder blade under, right shoulder blade on top, just, yep, a little bit more. And then very gently go ahead and come back to hands and knees. Adding on, if your knees still need your blanket, by all means, please keep your blanket. Go ahead and send your left foot back, tuck both sets of toes under. Hug all the muscles around that left leg. Hug your front two hip bones together and lift your left leg parallel-ish to the floor. Now everyone look back along your torso and make sure your left toes and left knee are pointing straight down. Yep. Now push into the floor to close your front ribs in and back. Yep. Lengthen your tailbone back and your crown forward, and then reach your right arm forward in opposition, palm faces in. Now, keeping the left knee down, reach back through the left big toe, reach forward through the right pinky finger, and keep drawing the front ribs in and down. Yep, and your head is just down towards the floor. And you've got 3 more breath cycles here. You're hugging all the muscles around the bone of that leg, and you're pulling the low back up towards the ceiling, sky, just like we pressed it into the floor. Nice job. Gently lower just the right hand, then lower just the left leg. We'll try that on the other side. So go ahead and send the right foot back, tuck both sets of toes under, or that set of toes under, and then you'll lift that right leg up. Now continue to look down along your body, making sure the right knee points down. Hug the front 2 hip bones together and lengthen your tailbone back. Press into the floor to draw your front ribs up. Yep. And then from there, lift your left arm forward. So the more that you can hug those front ribs back or up towards the sky as you lengthen your tailbone back and reach back through your left foot, we're just finding a bit of balance here. And then notice if there's more weight going into that right hand than is necessary. Can the weight be balanced in the middle of your spine? Yep. And you've got 2 more breath cycles here. Heads are reaching forward. Right foot's reaching back, left pinky fingers reaching forward. Nice job. Gently lower the left hand and then lower the right foot. Okay, let's add on. Tuck both sets of toes under. Walk the feet over to your right. Walk your right hand forward and to the right, and then start to roll towards your right. Bend your left knee and grab your left ankle with your left hand. Pause. Keep the left heel close to your butt. First things first, lengthen your tailbone down and then draw your low front ribs in and back. Push down into your right hand and then start to kick back through your left foot. Now you're going to just pause and stay here. We're going to imagine that we're still doing that ab curl that we did on our back to keep the low back super long. And then you'll broaden across the collarbones as you kick back through that left leg. Awesome sauce. Gently draw the left heel back to your left bum. Pause there, release the left foot, then straighten the left leg long so it's parallel to the floor. Your left hand is touching your left hip or left thigh, and we're just gonna hold here. You can look down along your body to make sure your pinky toe is lifting up and your foot is parallel to the floor. And then you'll breathe for 3. Draw the low ribs in for 2, the tailbone down for 1, and exhale, lower that foot. Come back to hands and knees, and we'll try that on the other side. So tuck both sets of toes under, walk your feet over to your left. Walk your left hand forward and to the left, roll to your left and grab your outer right ankle. First things first, you're going to pause. You want to see if you can flank through that back foot. Draw your front ribs in, tailbone long towards your right leg, and then you'll kick back when you're ready into that right foot. Shoulder blade squeeze onto back. Your bottom ear lifts up so both sides of your neck are parallel to each other, and you'll pause and you'll breathe. Low belly draws in. Nice work, guys. Very gently draw that right heel closer to your bum. Release the leg. Extend the right leg long so it's parallel to the ground. And you're just hugging those outer hips, reaching out through that inner thigh. And gently, you'll lower the foot down to the floor. Come to hands and knees. Walk your hands shoulder distance apart. Tuck both sets of toes under, and then lift your tail up and back for a downward facing dog. Keep your knees pretty bent for this first one. And then I want you to slowly pedal through the legs, noticing what you notice. So in NVC land, they talk a lot about feeling. So as you're in this shape, you're just feeling through the body. You're noticing how the breath is moving. We went from doing dynamic breath to very little awareness or direction of the breath. So notice what the breath is doing, how it's feeling. Notice how the body is feeling as you're maybe shifting from side to side. The reason in NVC land they talk so much about feelings is feelings help us know whether a need is being met or unmet. And when we have a better idea of what our own needs are and whether they're being met or not met, it helps us create this ability to negotiate with others by really having language to say what it is we're needing and some possible strategies that we could use and use with others to have everyone's needs met. So we're just seeing how we're connecting with ourselves in this moment, what we're needing, how our body's responding. And then we'll see how that plays out as we get into some other shapes. So let's go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. Everyone, I want you to look forward at your hands. Shift your weight forward just a little bit. Notice how your shoulders come forward. Now push down into the L shape of your hands. Yep, keep lifting up through your inner armpits. Push from your shoulders to your hands and lift your tuchus up and back. Send your inner thighs back, but keep closing those front ribs in and back like we did when we were doing, the core work. From here, inhale, lift your right leg up and back. Reach up through that right heel, keeping your squared hips towards the floor. Yep, and then exhale, step that foot between your hands. Pause here. I would encourage many of you to put your hands on blocks at this point, but you can also keep your hands on the floor. It's totally up to you. And then from here, let's go ahead and spin our back foot to the floor in a long, long position. From here, go ahead and bring your right hand to the inside edge of your front foot. Bring your left hand to your left hip. Now, just as we did in that extended side angle thing on the floor, I want you to draw your pelvis to the left. So your tailbone comes under and to the left. Then lengthen your tail back and reach your crown forward. Scoop the belly on the right side so you can stack your left shoulder a little bit more on top, of the right. And then you might reach back through the left hand so it's parallel to your body. You might stay there. You might sweep it along the horizon until it's over your head, palm faces down. And we're going to stay here for 3 breaths. I want you to push so much into your legs that you can hug your legs together. And you're finding the stability in your legs. It's not like your arm is sinking down. You're hugging your legs, and that's creating the buoyancy to lift up. And you're just going to pause, and you're going to breathe, and you're still pushing into that right foot, hugging the outer right hip back. Yep. Nice job. Next in breath, Come back to a low lunge. Pause here, hands on blocks. Perhaps step your back foot in about a few inches or maybe even a foot and put the foot down. And you're just going to pause and breathe here for a moment in this modified pyramid pose. And you're just breathing. So straighten that front leg as best as you can. Yep. Draw the outer left hip forward. Heart and sternum reach forward. And you're just noticing how your hammies are doing now. This is probably a lot more tight. And so you're just noticing what you're feeling. Notice the sensations that are present. On your next in-breath, bend the front knee, plant your palms. And as you exhale, step back, downward facing dog. Great. What I appreciate about NVC is that no feelings are bad. It's all just information. They really appreciate just the totality of the human experience. Probably why when you talk to some of those individuals that are versed in that, it seems so much easier to tell the really hard things. Let's go ahead and try the other side. So inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Pause here, look down your body, make sure the hips are square, and then exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Yeah, nice job, guys. Maybe hands come to blocks, maybe they stay on the floor, but you'll spin your back foot to the floor. From here, walk the left hand inside of the left foot. Draw the right hand to the right hip. First things first, let's push down into that left foot, push down into the right foot. Hug your outer left hip back, and then think of sliding your right hip forward, pelvis forward, ribs forward. Then scoop the left rib cage under to stack the right rib cage on top. Yep. And then reach out through that right hand, maybe sweep it over your head along the horizon. Yep. And as you're here, find length from your right pinky finger to the right shoulder, through the right hip, through the right pinky toe. And you're noticing how you can find a little bit more power in the legs to find lift through the spine. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. What are the feelings that are present? Our feelings, if we view them as information, they're nothing that needs to be avoided. It's nothing that needs to be sort of shut down or controlled. It's just information. It allows us to come into balance once we have all the information necessary. All right, next in-breath, go ahead and return to a low lunge. And as you exhale, step that back foot in a bit and take a modified pyramid pose, straightening both legs. And again, you're using the sensations in your body to provide you with information. Sometimes you need to fidget around a little bit. Sometimes you can come into complete stillness, but we're just checking into how the body is feeling, where the breath is moving. You got one more breath cycle here. And then as you inhale, you'll shift your weight forward, you'll plant your palms, you'll step back, plank pose. Now this time I encourage you to come into plank and maybe bring a block in between your inner upper thighs. It really depends upon you. And once we find ourselves there, let's go ahead and push down through our hands so much that our happy inner armpits lift. Yep, lift your inner thighs up. Once the inner thighs lift, squeeze that block and then lengthen your tailbone back. Now from here, lift your tuchus just a few more inches up. Roll to the knife edge of your left foot. Stack your left shoulder over your left hand. Maybe lift your right hand up so it's on top of your right shoulder. Now, draw your right hip forward so your hips aren't swinging back. It's really coming forward. So both hips are stacked on top of each other as you squeeze that block. Yeah, nice job. Go ahead and lower the right hand down. Come back through center. And we'll try all that on the other side. Lift your hips a little first. Roll to the knife edge of your right foot. Push down into the right hand shoulder to lift the left shoulder up. Lift the left hand up. And then if you can, peer down your body, see if you can draw that left hip forward just a smidge because it tends to go back. And we'll hold for 3. Lift your right ear away from the floor so neck's equally long on both sides. Yep, for 2. And gently come back to center. Hooray. Lift your hips up and back. Keep that block for just a moment. And as you're here, again, inner thighs go back and yet hug into that block. And notice how your hamstrings feel now. Notice how they feel now. Notice how the backs of the legs feel now. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and remove that block. Highly encourage you to replant it towards the upper part of your space, but you do whatever works for you. All right, let's add on. Now everyone lift up through your inner armpits, keep the shoulder blades, integrated in front ribs back, and then inhale, lift up through that right leg. As you exhale, right knee to nose, quietly plant that foot between your hands. Great, pause here. Crawl your hands and maybe your blocks forward, shift your weight forward, lift your left leg parallel to the floor. Awesome sauce. Great. Now you can bend that supporting leg, that right leg, as much as you need to, but everyone look down at your left leg, make sure the left toes and knee are pointing straight to the floor, and then lift your outer left hip up just a smidge so both hips stay parallel. There you go. Great. Now walk your right hand block thing over to the right just a little bit. Draw your left hand alongside your left hip. You might need to bend your right knee. Keep flexing through your left foot, push down through your right hand, push down through your right foot, stack your left shoulder on your right, stack your left hip on, left shoulder, left hip on top of the right. Great. Now you might peer down your body. See if you can lift that inner left thigh parallel. There you go, Sandy. Parallel to the floor. And then you might float up through the top arm. Nice, guys. Nice, Laura. Nice, Julie. Flex through that back foot even more, Julie. Nice, Barbara. Nice, Jenny. Awesome sauce. Very gently, left hand comes back to left hip. Square your hips to the floor. Plant your left hand on the floor. Bend your right knee. Step your left foot long and back. Awesome sauce. Step your right foot long and back. Awesome sauce. And come back to downward facing dog. So we're coming back to these neutral things because everywhere in any type of therapeutic thing, they always say you have to have a neutral spot to come back to. It gives you a means of testing what's happening. And so you're just noticing what you notice. How does the right side feel in comparison to the left? Great. Let's go ahead and add on. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. As you exhale, knee to nose and quietly step that foot between your hands. Nice. From here, start to crawl your hands and your block things forward. Shift your weight forward. Lift your right leg parallel to the floor. Awesome. Pause. Before you go anywhere, go ahead and look down your torso. Is your right leg completely parallel to the floor? Is your right knee and toe, are both of those things pointing straight down? And then can you all lift your outer right hip up just a smidge as you do that? Great. From here, walk your left hand block slightly over to the left. Draw your right hand to your right hip. Start to push down into the left side of your body to stack the right side of your body on top. And then everyone lift up through that inner right thigh even more. So your right pinky toe is parallel to the outside edge of your mat. Yep. And maybe the right hand floats up. And to make this work, yeah, nice, Julie. See if you can draw your front ribs in and back and keep lengthening that tailbone back. Nice job, guys. Very gently, draw the right hand back to the right hip. Square your chest back to the floor. Bend that supporting leg. Reach the right foot back. Crawl your hands back. Step back, downward facing dog. Awesome sauce. All right, let's go ahead and come to hands and knees. Pad your knees if you need to. And then you're going to step your right foot forward. And then once that right foot comes forward, go ahead and bring your spine up to vertical. Great. Now push down into your right foot, push down into your left knee. Your right hand can just rest on the top of your right thigh for the moment, and then you're going to reach your left arm up and overhead. And I want you to see if you can still keep pulling your front ribs in and back, your tailbone down, and you're hugging those legs together. And for this one, you can think of reaching up, maybe leaning back just a bit. So we're trying to find a bit of a psoas stretch. And you'll find that by pushing down into your left knee. Yep, drawing your front ribs in and back and reaching up through that left arm. And if you're happy as a clam here, stay center. Otherwise, take a little side bend up and over to your right, just a smidge. But you want to keep drawing your front ribs down and back so that you can find just the upper insertion of the psoas. Yeah, nice job. Okay, next in breath, go ahead and come up to center. As you exhale, lower the hands to the floor. Switch sides, step your right foot back and step your left foot forward. Slowly walk the hands up the front thigh as you bring the spine up to vertical. And then we're going to push into our left foot, push into our right knee, suck those points together, and then inhale when you're ready, reach up through your right arm. Keep pulling your front ribs in and back. So if you need to use that left hand on the front low ribs, it really helps. And you're just pulling them in and back as you reach up through the right arm. You might find that the chest lifts, the collarbones lift. You might stay happy as a clam there. You might reach up and slightly over to the left, but you're still hugging those front right ribs back. Tailbone lengthens down, trying to find a stretch across the deep stabilizing muscles of the spine and the connectors to the legs. Yeah. Okay, next in breath, go ahead and come back up. As you exhale, lower the hands to the floor. Tuck the back toes under. Go ahead and step yourself back to plank pose. So left foot steps back, both plants palm or plant. And then you'll pause. Gently shift your weight forward and lower slower than you want to all the way onto your abdomen. Great. Okay, so we're going to try to do an isometric thing here. Make sure your hands are about shoulder distance apart and in line with your shoulders. Separate your feet about hip distance apart and press down into the tops of your toenails. Lengthen your tailbone back and lift up through your kneecaps. Now from here, I want everyone to spread wide through your hands. Isometrically start to push down into your hands first. Then notice that you can push wide into your hands, so pressing out through those pinky fingers. And then notice that you can draw the hands back. So all three actions are happening at the same time. So you're pushing down, you're pulling wide, and you're drawing back. Notice that then you can start to draw the shoulder blades onto the back and your head will lift a little bit. And you can lift as high as you want, but the key action is pushing down into your hands, pulling wide with the fingers, drawing back with the hands to draw the sternum forward. Yep. And then I'd like you to take one more breath cycle here, really lifting as high as you want, but you're doing it by pushing down, by pulling wide, by squeezing back. Awesome sauce. Here's the trick. Lift your hands away from the floor without letting your torso drop. Keep energizing through the legs, keep squeezing through the shoulder blades, and we'll hold for 3. Keep reaching back through the big toe mounds and pinky toe mounds for 2. And for 1, gently lower all the way down. Awesome sauce. You can work with that same upper body thing or just bring your hands underneath your forehead. Now we're going to do some stuff with your legs. Awesome sauce. Okay, so from here, you'll reach back through the legs so much that your legs can float up and away from the floor. Pause there, lengthen your tailbone back even more and draw the low belly into the back and the back up towards the sky like we did when we were on our backs. Now, as you inhale, you'll open your legs as wide as you want. And as you exhale, you'll hug the inner thighs back towards each other. And you've got about 10 of these. And I encourage you to move very slowly so that you can make sure that your inner thighs are lifting faster than your outer thighs, so that your pinky toes keep pointing down to the floor the whole time. And so we're prepping for our peak pose. A lot of times, in order for us to find balance in our life, to find balance in our relationships, there are certain things that we need to do where we have the ability to connect and stabilize with ourselves. And right now, really all we're trying to do is just stabilize the low back to see how our peak pose goes. And all of the other things that we've done have been an attempt to meet certain needs in order to hopefully get to that opening shape. And we'll just see what happens as it goes. And we've got one more set here. This last time your legs come together, you'll pause there. Lift up through your inner thighs. Make sure the knees and the toes are pointing straight down. The tailbone lengthens back. If you're lifting the head up, you'll squeeze the shoulder blades up. You'll hover the hands up, and you'll breathe here for 3. You'll breathe here for 2. You'll breathe here for 1, and gently lower all the way down. Awesome sauce. All right. Go ahead and plant your hands alongside your shoulders. Come up to hands and knees. And then make your way back to downward facing dog. Okay. I believe we should be able to talk our way through this, and we'll see how this goes. Okay. So inhale, lift your right leg up and back. As you exhale, draw your knee to your nose. Plant your foot carefully between the hands. Yep. And then you might need to bring your hands to your blocks, or you can keep your hands on the floor. From here, start to crawl your hands and or block things forward. Shift your weight forward. Float your left leg parallel to the floor. Pause. Pause, pause, pause. Bend your left knee so your left knee touches your right knee. Bend your left knee so your left knee touches your right knee. Walk your right hand over to the right and forward slightly. Sweep your left hand back to grab your left ankle. Squeeze your left heel and left butt together, and then push down into your right hand. Start to stack your left shoulder on top of your right. Start to stack your left hip on top of the right, and open your chest towards the left. Great. You might stay right here happy as a clam. You might start to kick back through that top leg, drawing your left hip more forward, more to the left, as your heart goes more to the left, as your foot goes more to the back. Yeah. Awesome sauce. Gently draw that left heel closer to your butt once again if it went away. Release your left foot and extend your left leg parallel to the floor. Yep. Reach your left arm up and alongside your ears, half moon. And you're going to pause and you're going to breathe. Nice job. Gently lower the left hand back to the floor. Square your shoulders, square your hips to the floor. Bend your right leg, step your left leg long and back, and step yourself back, downward facing dog. Pause and breathe. Notice what you notice. How was your balance there? What things were you needing? And how can we adjust as we go into the second side? A lot of times our self-care, knowing ourselves, really is a balancing act. And it really gets better the more that we have the opportunity to try it. So we'll try this once again. As you're ready, inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Exhale, left knee to nose. Quietly step that foot between your hands. From here, you might bring your hands onto your blocks, and then you'll crawl your hands and or blocks forward, shift your weight forward, lift that right leg parallel to the floor. Pause here. Before you go anywhere, inflate your low back. So draw that low belly in, and it feels like the low back, yep, draws up to the sky. Then bend your right knee to touch your left knee. Walk your left hand over to the left and forward a little bit. Sweep your right hand back to grab your right ankle. From there, push down into your left hand to stack your right shoulder on top of the left, and you'll start to spin your chest towards the right. Great. From here, draw the low belly in again, tailbone lengthens back, and you might start to kick the right foot back. In order to kick the right foot back, your heart has to come forward. It's very precarious, but it's this weird thing that happens. Yep. Then gently draw the right heel closer to your pelvis. Release the right foot. Extend the right leg back parallel-ish to the floor. You might stay there. You might float the right arm up. Yeah, nice job, guys. And then you'll go ahead and square the hips and the shoulders back to the floor. Bend your left leg, step your right leg back. Make your way back to downward facing dog. If you'd like, take a cycle through an up dog or cobra. And then we're all going to meet in child's pose. And whether you stayed in that shape, whether or not you balanced, whether or not you fell out of it, it's all information. All the sensations, all the feelings help us learn a little bit more about ourselves. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot is this notion of vulnerability, us being able to wobble, us being able to fall out of things, us being able to be really, truly human, to feel all the feelings, as they say, is ironically enough the thing that allows us to have connection, genuine, authentic connection, not only to others, but most importantly to ourselves. And yet, it's an act. It's one of those things we have to do and we have to learn to do. So, okay, take 2 more breath cycles here. And then at the end of your second exhalation, you'll gently walk your hands underneath your shoulders and bring your spine up to sit. And I encourage you to sit just on your shins and knees and things. And you're going to take one of your blankets and just fold it and put it over to, let's all do it to our left side first. And then, like we're riding side saddle, you're going to put your left hip on that blanket. That's hilarious. Who would have ever thought that had been a useful cue? And then you're going to bring your right foot into the arch of your left foot. Now, I have pretty long arms, so I don't need an extra block, but if you need an extra block, you can bring a block and you'll bring it over to your left side as well. Awesome. And then from here, you're going to bring your right hand outside of your left thigh, your left hand out near your left hip, and you're going to push down through your fingers to lift up through your spine. And as you exhale, draw those left ribs in. The right ribs will wrap around forward, and some of you will stay right here. Some of you will slip your right hand underneath your left thigh. So your palm will face down, your fingertips will point back towards your knees. And you'll just stay there, happy as a clam, rotating to the left. Some of you will bring your left hand behind you so it touches your right butt. Your palm will face behind you, and some of you will stay right there. Some of you will be able to bend your right elbow enough to grab your right upper arm with your left arm, and you'll continue to rotate your rib cage spine to the left. Some of you will stay right there, and some of you will turn your gaze over your front shoulder, your right shoulder. You might stay right there, or you might lower your right ear towards your right shoulder, lifting your left ear cheek up to the sky like a cherub is kissing your cheek. And you'll find a fun, crazy stretch happening on your left neck. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. Awesome. Sauce. And then if you're in all of that, gently just draw your head back to center. Look over your right shoulder. Gently unwind your spine to the left. Release the clasp of your left hand holding the right bicep. Release the left hand and release the right, and then come back to center. And then you'll just take a moment to pause, and you'll take a moment to breathe. And then we'll trial that on the other side. So your blanket and your blocks might shift to your right side. And then your right hip comes onto that blanket. Left hand outside of right knee, right hand back towards the outer right hip. Push down through the fingers, lift up through the spine, and draw those right ribs in. And you can stay right here. What's really important is that we're finding the length through the vertebra first and then the rotation. You might find that you can slip the back, or rather your left palm underneath your right thigh. the heel of the hand is facing front, the fingertips are facing back, and you might just stay there, lifting up through the spine, rotating. You might find that the right hand wants to come to your right hip, palm faces away. You might stay there. You might inchworm that right hand to grab the left forearm or upper arm rather. You might stay there. You might start to turn your gaze over your left shoulder as the ribs continue to rotate to the right. And you might then lower the left ear towards the left shoulder so the right cheek comes up, and it's a happy little cherub thing. And if you're doing any version of that, we're trying to make sure that the right shoulder descends away from the head so that you can find a stretch along the right scalene muscles of the neck. And then notice if you're breathing. Awesome sauce. Gently lift the head back to center. Turn the gaze towards the right. Release the left arm. Release the left hand. And then come back to center. From here, bring your butt to the floor and draw both legs in front of you for Baddha Konasana. Okay, last few things. You might need to sit on a blanket if your low back rounds a little bit, or you might just have your pelvis on the floor. Great, let's go ahead and extend our right leg to the right. Bring your thumbs to the back of your left calf, pull the flesh up and away from you as you draw your left knee in towards, or rather left heel into your perineum. And our right leg is more or less, we're making a 90-degree angle with our hips. So 45 on each side. And then you're going to start to walk forward. And we're going to flex through that right foot so your toes and your knees are pointing straight up. And we're ideally looking for sensation on the inside edge of that right leg, back of right hamstring. And you can walk as forward as you want, but you're just pausing and you're breathing. And you're just noticing what shifts here now. I noticed that for me, one of the things that causes so much anxiety is feeling like my needs can't be met. And I think that's one of the encouraging things about NVC. There's this notion that we can all be in connection, in communion with each other, and in such a way that nobody really feels like they're compromising. I mean, you are, but it doesn't feel like your needs are being completely avoided or neglected. It's just you find a different strategy to have those needs met, where you can still be in a loving, kind relationship with those that are important to you and be in harmony, even with those whom you don't have a real affinity for. Kind of an amazing philosophy. You got 2 more breath cycles here. You're just noticing what you notice. And at the end of your exhalation, you'll start to walk your hands back towards your hips. You'll start to bring your spine up to vertical. You'll take a moment to pause and just observe what you notice. And then when you're ready, you'll switch sides. So you'll probably bend both knees and start back in Baddha Konasana, and then you'll extend your left leg out towards the left. You'll remove the flesh from the back of your right calf as you draw your right heel close to your perineum. And then check in with that left foot first, making sure it's flexed. And then when you're ready, you'll start to walk yourself between your legs, coming as far forward as you want to. And you'll just notice what you notice on this side. How is the inner hamstring on the left leg? How is the back of the left leg? And so we're really going through the center of our legs as best as we can. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what's happening here. Nice, guys. Awesome. Take 2 more breath cycles here. Laura, I wonder what would happen if you walked your torso a little bit to your right. You were good, Barbara. There you go. Do you feel that more on the inside edge of your leg now? Okay. Does it feel okay? And then at the end of your next exhalation, you'll slowly start to walk your spine back up. Go ahead and this time draw both legs towards each other. Legs can be straight or knees can be bent. It's totally up to you. But you're going to take a moment to pause. And then you're going to make your way onto your backs. And as you come onto your backs, I encourage you to make sure all your fun props that you like to use are very close by. And the first thing that you'll do once you get onto your back is just land on your back. We started here and we're back to the same shape. And just observe how the body is feeling now. Where is there more contact with the floor? Where is there more freedom from the floor? And as you're here for these last 3 breath cycles, I encourage you to check in and notice what other things might be calling or be called forth from your body. What other strategies might you take in order to meet the need to have a complete restful shavasana? And then you'll do those shapes or that shape that feels good to you. And once you feel complete doing whatever the heck you happen to be doing, the final shape I would like to encourage us all to take for today is Supta Baddha Konasana, with the soles of the feet together and the knees open and splayed like a book, supported with the blocks. And if you're still moving around, you move around. If you're ready to head to Shavasana, you head towards Shavasana. This is really one of those things that what I'm learning is that it seems that so much of the conflict is created because we think that there's only one particular way to have our needs met. But there are a million different ways to get our needs met. And the more that we're able to shift our strategies that we employ, the more that it will give us permission to really balance our own needs while playing all the different roles that we play in life, whether it's friend or partner, parent, employer or employee. The more that we can feel into what is alive and alert and present for us, it gives us information about what we might be needing, what might not be met. And so we have more information about different ways that we can possibly work to get those needs met. Awesome, so looks like most of us are in Shavasana now. So for today, I want you to just focus on your breath. My teacher calls this a 4-part spinal kriya. So we're going to bring our awareness to the pelvis first, and you're just going to inhale into the pelvis, the low back. Notice that breath rise through the abdomen, the low back, rise through the middle ribs, the upper ribs, and then the chest. And then you'll exhale and soften through the chest, through the ribs, through the belly, through the pelvis. And we're just going to keep doing that. So every time you inhale, you're trying to seamlessly fill from the pelvis all the way through the abdomen, the ribs, and the chest. And then try to seamlessly empty from the chest, through the ribs, through the abdomen, through the pelvis. And as you continue to breathe like this on your own, you're looking for those hiccups, those places where the breath catches, where it doesn't seamlessly move through those 4 spots of pelvis, belly, ribs, and chest. And then noticing how you can soften a bit so the sensation, the transitions are seamless and smooth. And you'll just continue like this for a few more moments on your own, breathing from the pelvis all the way up to the chest and then back down. And I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Begin to return your awareness. And just take a moment to check in, to notice what you notice. If there's any part of you that longs to linger here, by all means, please stay here. Otherwise, begin to invite small, gentle movement into your physical form. And then as you're ready, start to make your way over to your right side. Gently start to press yourself to a tall, comfortable seat. Really take the opportunity to set yourselves up well so that you can sit tall. And once you're established, you're going to end with 6 rounds of Nadi Shodhana. So your left hand, you can turn to either face up and tuck your index finger into the base of your thumb, And then you can either turn that palm to face down if you'd like, or let it stay up on your lap. It's totally up to you. And then your right hand will come in front of your face. The thumb comes to the outside edge of the right nostril. The ring finger, the pinky finger come to the outside edge of the left. And maybe the index finger and middle finger rest on the forehead, or maybe they're tucked in. It's totally up to you. But you'll exhale all the breath from your mouth. Soften or close your gaze and inhale just through your left. Top of your inhalation, you'll close your left and exhale out through your right. When you need to, you'll draw the breath back in through your right. Top of your inhalation, you'll close your right and exhale out through your left. That counts as one round. You'll take 5 more on your own. And as you continue to breathe, I encourage you to notice how long, how soft, how seamless you can make the breath. I encourage you to continue to really just become aware of what it feels like to connect to the sensation of the breath. You'll continue as you are, and after you've taken your 6 complete rounds, the last time the breath exits through your left nostril, you'll simply lower your right hand. And when you do lower your hand, I want you to bring your awareness to the tips of your nostrils. And really just experience the breath as it enters and as it exits the nostrils. You might find that the more you pay attention to this, it feels like the breath comes up the nostrils towards the center of your forehead, third eye center. And then it draws down just below the nose, tip of the nose, maybe a couple inches. As you continue to really just watch the breath, and more importantly, relax as you watch the breath, you might begin to find that it feels like there's a tingling, a sensation, a light that begins to build between the third eye, sort of in the midbrain of the head. And in order to find it, ironically enough, you have to relax, you have to let go, you have to soften. We'll just take a few more rounds of breath. If it feels like that energy builds to such a point that your awareness wants to stay with it in your third eye center, you just stay there. And if it feels at any point that this is elusive or abstract, no worries, you just relax and Be where you're at. It's very interesting. In many respects, some of the most difficult thing that we can do is to relax. And yet, that's kind of what NVC is asking of us. It's asking us to relax our strategies that we employ to get our needs met. Asking us to relax our expectations that we have of ourselves and of others. It's asking that we relax into life as it's unfolding in any given moment, trusting that every single human being at the core really does have the same basic needs. And the more that we can relax, we can see our own humanity as well as the humanity that's in another. And so, to complete our practice, we'll go ahead and bring one hand to our heart, and we'll stack the other hand right on top. And you're just feeling the weight of one hand into the other, one hand into the chest, the ribs, and feeling beneath that for that heartbeat. So a constant, gentle reminder. Okay. We'll complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Go ahead and bring hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms towards each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs and then lift your heart towards your hands. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. To that light, to that breath, to that sound, we bow. Namaste.